Today's tutorial will be going through the if function. The if function is an inbuilt formula that evaluates data and displays a given result. In this tutorial, we'll create a formula to quickly evaluate student main scores and to display a pass or fail based on the benchmark score of 50 and above. So what this means is basically any score above 50 should be displayed as a pass, otherwise a fail if below the benchmark. For this tutorial, we shall be using the following data. So what we have here are names of 5 students and their respective scores. So where we shall be creating the formula is on this cell here. So once again, the most important factor to consider before doing any or creating any formula, it's mandatory to start with the symbol equals. This is because the symbol equals instructs the computer to recognize the function if as a formula as the beginning of the formula, whereby if you were to key in the word if on its own, it will only be recognized as data or just text, and therefore will not perform any function or formula at all. So every formula has 3 parts to it. The if formulas have 3 parts to it. So as we said, I'll take you through each part one bit by bit. So as we said, the first mandatory step is to start with the equal sign, then key in the if function, then open brackets. So now the first part is the logical test. And by the logical test, this is what I refer to. What you're evaluating here is Peter's marks, which is 65. Now the logic test is to see if this is a pass or a fail based on the benchmark of 50. So for starters, we are not going to key in the value 65 on its own. We're going to select the cell in which the value 65 is in. You can also click on that cell and it will bring B5. So once again, the logical test is to see if 65 is a pass or a fail based on the benchmark 50. So now the next step will key in the logical test, which is greater than 50. So again, each part of the formula is separated with a comma, by a comma. So now we go to the second part. The second part is basically the information displayed if the value is true. So the value being true here is if 65 is a pass, if it's the value to be, I mean, if 65 is greater than the benchmark score, which is 50, then it should be the pass. So the value to be displayed if the logical test is true is a pass. How to key this in is open quotation marks, key in the word pass, then close quotation marks, and then put a comma. This again is to separate the second part from the third part. Now the third part, this is the value that should be displayed if the logic part does not confer to the result. I mean, if the results of the logic test does not confer with the logic test. In this case, if the value we are evaluating is not greater than 50, then it should be recorded as a false. Now the recorded value here should be fail. So once again, open quotation marks, key in the word fail, key in the word fail, close quotation marks, close the bracket, and then this now should give us the desired result if Peter's marks are a fail or a pass based on the benchmark. And as we see, it's a pass. So once again, we'll go through this step once more. So start with the equal symbol, key in the function if, open brackets. First part is the logical test. And now since we're evaluating John's marks, the cell is not B5, B5 is Peter's, so the cell is B6. Again, we don't put the actual value, which will be 32, we put the selected cell. And you can also select it, click on it, it will bring it here. So if greater than 50, first part of the logic test, then if it's greater than 50, we have ascertained that it's a pass. So the value to be displayed is a pass. Comma again, separated to the final part of the formula. If it's not greater than 50 or if it's not above the bench score of 50, it's a fail. So the value to be displayed is a fail. Once again, open quotation mark, key in fail, close quotation mark, close the brackets, press enter, and there we go. We have the desired result. The main key function of this formula, or the advantage of this formula, is that you don't have to repeat it on every desired cell that you want the results. So if you want to evaluate James, Mary, and Agnes's marks, if they are a pass or a fail, all you have to do is come here to the bottom right corner of that cell and click on it and drag down to the to Agnes's marks. What this is going to do, it's going to copy the formula and adjust it accordingly to the values presented on those cells. And then it shall give the same results and work out if it's a if it's a pass or a fail. And there we go. So this is the first part of the tutorial. Stay tuned for more parts coming up. Thank you.
You said benchmark is 50. How come Agnes, who scored 50, failed? We're going to look at that question now. Let's recall our marks. That's what we had. And the formula, it was if B5 is greater than 50, then it's a pass, else it's a fail. Remember, we had 3 parts in this formula. The first part, and the 3 parts are separated by a comma. The first part we call it the logical test. Then the second part is the response to be displayed if the logical test is true. And the third part, what is to be displayed if the logical test is false. Okay, so we had that, and then you can copy and paste or just simply drag down. Okay, here we have a problem. Agnes is fail. Agnes complains 50 and I failed. Yes, you said benchmark. Sorry, the benchmark is 50 and over. $50 and above. So we need to rectify our formula. Use the edit key. And let's make a small change here. We're going to say B5 is equal to 50 or more. So the way to do that is to add an equal sign after the greater than sign. Now the order matters. If you put equal sign followed by greater than, or we put greater than followed by the equal sign. So now you see it's okay. This is a pass. Now let's drag the formula down. See, now for Agnes it is a pass because her marks is 50. But if it was 49.5, then it would be a fail. But 50 is a pass. Okay, today moving on. Today we complicate the problem a bit, and we have our data looks like this. So the marks we had were for English. We are learning that today. There are several other subjects. Each candidate is supposed to sit for 5 subjects, 5 and no more. Now we need to look at our data. Imagine, remember that you could be dealing with a class of so many people, 200 or something like that, a stream of even 300 people. Now you want to validate your data. Was the marks entered correctly? Probably these marks were populated manually and then were transcribed into the worksheet. So there's quite always a possibility that of some errors. I'm going to put in a few errors here deliberately. Say I'm going to put 662 there, and I'm just highlighting the errors and something like that. Now, the first thing we want to determine in validating our data, does every student have 5 subjects? Is every student entered for 5 subjects, or are they with less or more? Let's see. So now we are evaluating number of subjects. So we're going to use a new formula that we didn't use last time. We're introducing a new formula. The formula is called count. Doesn't matter whether you use capital letters or small letters. So we are saying count and then give the range of the data that we are going to. So for Peter it's B5 to G5. Just that. It's a very simple formula, but it's very useful. So 6 subjects. Oops, sorry. And we drag this and copy like that. So most of them have been entered for 6. So there are errors here because they're supposed to be 5 subjects each. So I think the error is here. And then when we come to this guy, we find that he was actually not supposed to do history. We remove. And then finally for Agnes, well, she didn't score geography because she didn't sit for geography. We still have one more error here, 95. This is a mistake. So that's our data. All the students now have 5 subjects. Now we want to find out the mean score, and then we are going to evaluate pass or fail depending on the mean score, not on one subject. Now that we have done away with this, we can hide this column. I'll just remove it. All right, mean score. Again, we introduce a new formula, very simple again, just called average. So what's the average? And the data range is again B5. By now you are used to us giving this sort of data range to G5. Okay, so the mean score for Peter is 61.4. I want to highlight this so that we know that we are dealing with the mean score, to just differentiate the mean score and the marks for individual subjects. And copy this downwards, and there we are. We have our mean scores. One thing I want to point out, notice that Peter has got a mean score of 61.4. If we put 0 here, saying that since he is not doing history, it's a 0, notice that the mean score has changed. And it is not correct, because average works on the number of subjects taken. So if you need to put to leave it blank for the data to be correct. The only time you can put a 0 is, let's say, Agnes did not sit for Kiswahili, but she was meant to sit for that, but she didn't turn up, so she got a 0. See, now definitely her evaluation will come to a pass. Now we do the evaluation. So it's simple. You just say if H5, because we are looking at the mean score, is greater than or equal to 50, then it's a pass. Otherwise it's a fail. Okay, and simply copy that formula across. Right, that's method number 1. Number 2, you can do all these in one. There are two functions here: the mean score calculation and the pass, the evaluation of pass or fail. All of this can be done in one formula. Let's see how. Let's just delete this and just come here and so this is pass or fail. Remarks. Okay, here we are. If now we say the average of B5 to G5, I believe, if the average of that, put brackets, notice the brackets, average, and then what are we averaging, and close that in bracket. So if all that is greater than or equal to 50, then it's a pass or a fail, else otherwise, like this. Copy. Great. It doesn't give you the mean score, but it straight away gives you the remark, pass or fail depending on the mean score. It's just a way of creating a shortcut if need be. We are going to have more exercises on this and see how you can innovatively use this and other formulas within the if, and based on that, then we will proceed to more complex evaluations. We take a break now.